busier you are, the more apt you are just to
make a mistake.
Yeah, make a mistake.
And not
go
care.
away. Yeah. So
just trying to move through your day.
That's the way I look at it. Like all these things are related, right?
Yeah, it's a threat. A threat's a threat, regardless if it's IT related or not.
It's a common thing they do in cybersecurity training. You can take a computer and put it on the internet and not put a firewall or anything, just like put it straight on the internet. And immediately, if you start watching it, it's already getting attacked because things are constantly scanning every IP address on the internet and looking for something to attack. So you see a lot of Asian IP addresses, Eastern European IP addresses that they're all automated. It's just out there trying to find a foothold everywhere all the time. So,
Wow.
And a lot of that is state-sponsored stuff, and the thing is, a lot of companies try to use that to scare people into doing stuff. I mean, the way I look at it, that's not how you're going to lose your business. It's not what's going to happen, because there could be, and this is what gets back to the whole risk management thing. There could be a non-cybersecurity threat that's more critical to you losing your business than that, right? And that's why I want to sit down with people and go through that. It's like, it could be that you have no backups, and there's a million things that could happen there. It could be that, you don't have the right insurance coverage, and that could, there's just so many things that are, one of the bigger ones to me is you don't have any processes written down.
Yeah.
You can't take vacation. Mm-hmm. Have you thought about that? It's like you can't hire somebody new, because if you hire somebody new, you wouldn't know what to tell them to do anyway.
Yeah.
So you're not gonna be able to fully utilize them. There's a lot of things, like I said, like that they may not seem like cybersecurity issues directly, but when people are busy and people are inefficient, it's like you said with calling into the UPS store. It's like that person, the busier you are, the more apt you are just to
make a mistake.
Yeah, make a mistake.
And not care.
Away. Yeah. So
just trying to move through your day.
That's the way I look at it. Like all these things are related, right?
Yeah.
It's a threat. A threat's a threat, regardless if it's IT related or not.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a threat to your business.
And, from a business standpoint of like, using this methodology for your sales and customers, you do that and you lay out and say, here's the top 5 things that are critical to your business and are easiest to fix. And you fix those things. That's a huge win with the customer. Like, back to what we're talking about, we just did something really meaningful for you, and you're much more apt to do more with me because of that.
Sure.
Right. As opposed to me just coming in and saying, you need a new firewall, or, you need this, what
Everything.
Most people do.
Checking off boxes.
And you put in a firewall and check off a bunch of boxes. They won't notice anything changed in their business. I mean, they may be in better position, but if you help them fix some processes and make it to where something that used to take 30 minutes takes 8 minutes, and they can do, twice the customers a day, you're much more valuable to them, so those are the kind of things I've been trying to figure out the last few years, and I've, like I said, usually been part of businesses that grow really fast. You get VC money, and you can get huge. Windstream bought Nuvox for $600 million.
Jeez.
I wish I had, got $600 million, but the point is
Yeah.
we helped build, it's the same thing. Green Cloud just sold for $100 million. Like those are the size businesses I've helped build, but the problem is you get VC funding and you do things like that, you own 1% of the business,
So do you see yourself scaling to that? Is that what your goal is?
No, I mean, the idea of this one's a little different. I mean, that's why I've, kind of tried to figure this out, how I want to, I'm back to the point of like, I want to see impact in what I'm doing. I want to feel good that I helped customers where I live. Cause that, that's what I used to always say, Nuvox, Green Cloud, some of those, I got to where I couldn't wear a shirt that had our logo on it because we tried everything first here, and we'd make tons of mistakes, and where I lived, people didn't respect our business.
Yeah.
So I want to be able to proudly wear something that has my logo on it, and people say, "Oh yeah, I've heard about you." Like I hear that about our vans and stuff. We see guys around. That's cool. We run Best the Upstate, all that kind of stuff. That's more rewarding to me at this point than saying I built a
big company,
a $600 million company or whatever.
Do you think you could scale that? You think you can scale your business and still keep that small business mentality?
What my initial plan was, and we may still go this route. I call it the Chick-fil-A model.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, the idea is, you keep it small by having a lot of small regional presence, and you keep the ownership by people growing up in your business and them, instead of saying, I'm going to give you stock options or, I'm going to give you a bonus or whatever, they get full, it's kind of like sales commission. You're going to get revenue share with me. Right. Yeah. So, as we grow, every position is going to get some portion of our, EBITDA, our earnings every month. And then as you move up in the organization, that percentage just gets bigger. So the idea would be just like in Chick-fil-A, you work there, learn all the positions, learn how to run a store. I give you a store. Now you don't own it, but you feel like you own it because you're getting a substantial portion, and it's your store. So that's how I would scale it. Basically just build a lot of small umbrellas all over the place. And then, you have Greenville as like the mothership to do like what Chick-fil-A does, process and continuous improvement. And, that's how they're so good is they've got people focused on how to be efficient and scale and everything else. So
is it true that Charlotte is like an IT hub, like a lot of tech in Charlotte?
Yeah, because basically Charlotte is, little New York as far as banking. So there's a lot of banking IT, because you've got Wells Fargo and Bank of America, a huge IT presence there, and then all the supporting people there. So there's a lot of consultants, a lot of data centers and stuff like that there. So I just call it Little New York. That's what they're trying. Heard that, but that's what they're trying to do. Yeah. When I worked with Bank of America and Wells Fargo, basically everybody has offices between those two and just flies back and forth.
Oh wow!
In fact, that plane, the Sully plane where they landed in the Hudson or whatever, that was
I met him.
Bank people going back and forth, basically, is what that was.
From Charlotte?
Yeah.
That's like the most humble guy you'd ever meet in your life.
Yeah, he does seem pretty cool.
He was the nicest good dude ever. Like, landed a plane. Yeah. Captain Sullivan.
Yeah.
He was like the nicest dude you'd ever meet in your life.
Apparently that's pretty hard to do, right? But I mean, you're just landing in water.
It'd be real hard for me.
For it. They train you for it. That's that's what they want. Best case scenario to happen.
It's like, that's so hard to do. I mean,
the fact that he did it.
You can drop a boat in water. Why not a plane?
Well, the fact that he did it in the Hudson, like in the middle of that area, like as busy it is.
Yeah, I would imagine there's a lot to that. But
I'm sure
I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm sure you rip the wings off and stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's more impressive.
I guess if our plane's going down, it's good to have Chris Sweet there because he thinks he can do it.
I'm landing you in the world.
I got you, baby.
He can definitely do this. This is easy. This happens all the time.
I did this yesterday.
I'd rather have Denzel Washington fly my plane.
Yeah.
That man flipped it upside down and was half drunk.
That was insane. So do you find yourself going to Charlotte a lot and like working, or do you find any competition come down here, or is it kind of just because I know they're so close together?
Not really. I mean, so the bigger the customer, the more likely people from Atlanta or Charlotte are coming. But you know, people aren't coming for the smaller customers because the travel time and everything else would eat up any profit they would have on it. So, it's actually really good from that standpoint. People want somebody local that they can see. The problem is everybody says they're going to do that.
Yeah.
Right. That's the biggest problem with selling. And I'm sure y'all run into it too, but everybody sells a good story.
Yeah.
And so when you're honest selling a good story, people are like, yeah, whatever. I've heard that before. Yeah. So that's why I've had to try to find something that I can prove it right away with that whole assessment stuff and everything. Yeah. It's like, oh no, I'll put it here like this. I'm not charging you anything to do this. Let's actually lay out what you need me for. Yeah. And I'll show you what I can do with that. These other guys are just saying, we've done it for a bunch of other people. Well, that's great. What are you going to do for me? So I think that helps deter some of that stuff I'm not saying the same thing as everybody else.
Sure. Yeah. Well, that's good to transition us into the hot seat questions. Okay. One of the main things I was going to ask is like, how have you kind of, how have you adjusted to the transition of a nice corporate regular check to starting a business, not having that regular check in the heat of a crisis like COVID,
It's been super stressful. COVID was stressful for everybody. Everybody had to make a lot of changes, but yeah, going from seeing the bank account go up to just every week seeing it go down, both my personal one and the company account. I did take a little money, a little bit of a loan at the beginning. I got that all arranged right before COVID. So
nice.
That made it a little easier for the first year or so, but No, I mean, it's been very, very stressful, but fortunately, since I was a teenager, I've had businesses. So, I mean, I've kind of known that you got to sock some money away, and, you got to assume you're going to have months where you get nothing, and that's just going to be part of the game,
Absolutely.
So, it was a transition in that, like, the more recent businesses, I've more been an employee than just a, pure shareholder and not taking a check, but kind of used to it to a certain degree. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it's been very stressful. It's just been this year to where I feel like I can kind of breathe a little bit.
Well, that's nice.
So
I definitely go through those phases.
yeah, I mean, it's.
Yeah.
I think that's
Every
what I
other
try
day.
to explain to everybody.
Every
Like,
other day.
I think some people have this vision of, if you have your own business, it's like all the money that people, pay for services just goes into your
Pocket.
lake house fund or something. But it's way more stressful, just like you said, because it's completely unpredictable. Our job is to make it predictable, but it's not going to be for a long time.
Yeah.
And so
That's a lot of work.
a little bit. I knew it. It's not like it was a surprise to me. COVID made it way more pressure, because things I used to, be able to take for granted, that I'd be able to get meetings, and it's just like everybody says, like, if you get enough meetings, something will come out of it. Just keep going. Well, if people aren't even answering the phone, and then when they do, they say, well, we're all at home and you're not coming to my house. What are you going to do?
Yeah. That's what I was going to say, is because, like, we've found a lot of our guests have started businesses right around the time COVID kind of hit. So it's kind of crazy to see and how successful they've made it through it. I think the hardest times, really make a good business owner. It's struggle and difficult, but once you kind of get through that, and if you've gone through those difficult turns in the market, and you've come out the other end, you have a lot to show for it. So
yeah,
it's easier.
That's, like I said, it's kind of what I always tell everybody. And in fact, my LLC, that's like the top, is called Business Forge. Like, the idea is, I know it's got to be forged in fire. Like, it's gonna be hard, but it's better on the other side. But it's it's easy to say that, but when you're in the middle of it, sometimes you feel like, why is this time seems harder? What's going on? Know, and but that's, to me, that's the joy and pain of having your business.
Sure.
Like, you can look back and say, I made it through that too. So
you got a question?
Well, that's also one of my roles as cheerleader. Just keep him pumped
Keep him
up.
going.
Yeah,
I
Good
mean,
at that.
yeah. There's some days I come in, I'm like, what are we doing? Well, and she's good at, like, we got this.
It's good. It's nice to have somebody like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that was another thing from the very beginning. Like, I hired Michelle day one. Like, I wasn't going to get bogged down, because I think that's one thing about that. If it's just you, it's real easy to not want to get out of bed in the morning and say, I'm not doing this crap anymore. Why don't I just go get another job? What am I doing? I mean, there's been a lot of times I've sat there like that, and I'm like, well, Michelle's going to be here in a minute. I gotta do it.
Yep.
And it's like, there's good to have that for each of you, to, have somebody to
Support system.
It's just like anything, like working out, anything, knowing you got somebody waiting on you and depending on you
Keeps it going.
Keeps it going.
Yeah,
right?
I struggle with that really bad. Like, I just don't have anybody. Yeah, it's all me. So, like, when I am depressed or hurting, it's like, I kind of like where do I find that, that motivation?
Well, I contract my services out. So if you just need me to call you and say,
I'm telling you,
get up, Ray, let's go.
Sometimes you just need that positive mentality. Like, and if you don't have it in you, where are you supposed to get it from?
Yeah.
So.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, it was very intentional. I knew Michelle. I knew her personality. I knew what she could do. And it was like, let's
Sounds like
do
Michelle
this.
needs a raise.
Yeah.
Well, I was offered a raise, and it was
that's the hot seat question.
I was offered a raise, and I didn't take it.
You didn't take a raise.
No, I didn't take it. It's not the best decision for the business, so
it will come in due time.
It'll come in due time. So
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, like that, she's the right person for
sure.
what we're doing. And it's,
absolutely.
I think it's important though to have that, like everybody, I mean, it's just like everything in life. You got to have somebody to lean on.
Yeah.
And doing it alone, a business is, I mean, it's a whole nother family. It's a whole nother same set of responsibilities.
Yeah.
And, anytime people ask me about starting a business, that's the kind of thing I tell them, is like, look, you got to know that you're going to be all in or nothing. And because if you don't, it's not going to work. And that's what people are saying. Like, well, what should I do? I'm like, well, number one, if you believe in what you're doing, don't side hustle it. Do it.
Yeah, just do it.
Because that pressure of failure, like you said, that's what makes you good.
Yeah.
And if you've got enough parachute, you got somewhere else to jump, you're not gonna make it through those hard times. You're gonna abandon what you're doing. So, I think that's it's just part of it. Like I said, I expected it. You have to know that there's gonna be days where you're like, what am I doing? It would be so much easier to go back to that big paycheck I had, because I was making really good money, and the reality of it though is I was not happy at all. So I'm way happier now, and
even with the stress.
yeah, you just got to want that, right? You got to get rewarded from doing it, and that's why not everybody's an entrepreneur. I mean, this stuff is not for the weak. I mean, it's.
So you said, I think I recalled you saying that sales was not a strong point for you. So what do you do anything to like, because sales is vital to a business, right? If you don't sell, you got no revenue, you can't run a business. Are you doing anything personally this year, like that is working towards becoming a better salesperson?
Yeah. I mean, I think, like I said, you got to kind of accept who you are and what your weaknesses are and where your strengths are. Yeah. So that's why I've tried to kind of change the model to leverage my strengths versus just sitting in the office going, I suck at this and I don't want to do it. Yeah. So,
maybe hiring.
We did hire an inside sales, guy for a while. The challenge was, again, we didn't have our pitch right. And if you're just another person calling with IT services, you're just another person calling IT services. So, that's kind of what I was saying. Like, we're going to go back now and kind of drill down on what we're doing. And that may lead to some, personal growth I need to have, or hiring somebody. I mean, the bottom line is, if I want a true salesperson, I'm going to hire somebody. Yeah. I'm not going to change myself into the best asset for the company.
That's the best way to do it anyway.
You got to accept that, like, I could become an okay salesperson. Yeah. But why is that good for my business? Sure. I don't want an okay salesperson. I want a great salesperson.
Well, don't put that more onto you. You know, I mean, think you have other things that you need to be focused on.
Well, yeah, I think that's just an important thing. It's like, you got to figure out what you're good at, double down on that, and delegate the rest. Because if you try to be everything, you become the one-man show, and that's where I've fallen right now.
Burn out.
And I'm trying to get back out of it, because I never wanted to create a one-man show business, because that doesn't scale and that makes you miserable.
For sure.
Yeah.
So, I definitely want to grow in that area. I mean, I'll definitely always be the person that does the sit downs and things like that. But opening the door opener is what I need. Yeah. There's gatekeepers at all these businesses that I'm not good at getting past.
Absolutely.
And there's somebody that's got to be good at that.
It's also hard for us to just let anybody do that too, because, like I said, this is our baby. Yeah. We don't want someone coming in that's just like, sell. Yeah. We want them to cultivate relationships with potential clients, and not just trying to ram things down their throat just to get in the door and get a commission. Yeah. So that's been a struggle too.
Well, and it's like anything, everything's coin operated. So you got to motivate the salespeople to do what you want them to do, right? Yeah. Closing, if you just motivate somebody on closing, that's what they're going to do. They're just, they don't care what they sold. They just sold what gave them a paycheck. And I'm not trying to say salespeople are bad people, but
say it.
Human beings are, if you give somebody a carrot, they're going to chase the carrot.
For sure.
Right. So you have to, I think if we do go down the role of having a pure salesperson, I think they'll be compensated on more than just closing. I think they'll be compensated on things like
client experience.
Yeah. Like, it's results driven.
Yeah.
Right. You'll get paid on the, result of our interaction with them longer term, like give you residual and things like that, as opposed to just kick the door open, make something happen, and then go kick the next door open. Yeah. It's completely contrary to what I'm saying the business is, right? So like Michelle said, it's a challenge to find somebody the reason I'm good at it is I'm saying what I'm going to do. Yeah. Right. So finding someone who understands what we do enough and being able to portray that in the same way that I can is tough. So number one, we got to have that really well defined, which is what we're going to work on now, so that you can even have somebody do it. Yeah. So it's just like I tell everybody from a customer perspective, figure it out, document it, repeat it, and automate it. Like, I can't do any of that if I'm not doing that myself. and so that's where we are from a sales standpoint. Is spent the last few years kind of just in reactive. I never wanted to be in that mode, but that's where we ended up. And now I've kind of seen what worked and what the results are, and we're going to go make that efficient now.
Awesome. Yeah. So I think lastly, like, where can everybody find you if they're looking for your services?
So umbrella.tech is our domain name. Website's the easiest place to see us. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, everywhere. We've been trying to start creating more content. That's on me. It's just like everything, finding the time. But that's the best place to find us is online. We are trying to, like I said, do more outreach stuff. I plan to start doing some more kind of public training and things like that. So look out for that on Facebook as well.
Nice.
Awesome.
And,
love it.
Thanks for coming on, guys.
Yeah, this is great. Thanks a lot.